What's going on, YouTube? Welcome to another Regulator Recordings production. And in today's video, I'm going to do something completely different. Now, I would love to keep giving you guys music reactions, which I will do from time to time. But YouTube has been harassing me. I did a reaction to Big Pun featuring Fat Joe Twins. And apparently, Sony Music Entertainment decided to file a claim against that video and a few of my other Big Pun videos, which blocked them worldwide. They made a false claim that I used the MP3 file in my video. Well, if you watch any of my reaction videos, you will see that I am listening to the songs through my studio monitors, which are BX5A audio monitors. They are nowhere near the top quality, top brand, but they are good monitors. They made the false claim I'm using their MP3s, took my videos down and blocked them. I did attempt to appeal the situation, but I got a message back that Sony feels their claim stands. So I attempted to reinstate my appeal. They then warned me that if my appeals are considered false, I could have my entire channel erased. Which, yeah, it's complete bullshit. And excuse my language, especially if you're a younger viewer. But so many people have been reacting to that one song, Twins, Big Pun, featuring Fat Joe. And their videos are growing, their channels are growing, their views are skyrocketing. The moment I do that song, suddenly my channel starts getting these insane copyright claims blocking my videos. So, I'm doing something far more better than a music reaction, and I want to start doing book reactions. Now, I understand some people hate reading, and hey, I understand. I came from that background. I was once just like that. I could not stand books. But once you find the right books with the right knowledge of what you are searching for, I assure you reading becomes the greatest adventure you could ever experience. The first book I would like to share with you guys is a book I discovered just yesterday, thanks to the YouTube channel Suspect Sky. Make sure you guys look in my description and subscribe to them as soon as possible. Now, this book is titled The Adam and Eve Story, written by Chan Thomas, original publication date January 1st, 1966. Now, there is a reason we are only hearing of this book just now. It was taken by the CIA sometime after its publication date of 1966, and the Central Intelligence Agency decided they needed to make it top secret, no longer available to the public. But thanks to the CREST 25-year program archive, which is the Automatic Declassification Provisions of Executive Order 13526, requires the declassification of non-exempt, historically valuable records 25 years or older. Now, this is why they had no choice but to release this book. Now, the reason this book has caught my attention and truly captured my mind is because it truly deserves the title, The Adam and Eve Story. Everything this book is talking about is based on the next great cataclysm. Now, to understand this book and its concept, we must first understand the word cataclysm and its definition, which is a large-scale and violent event in the natural world. Synonyms: disaster, catastrophe, calamity, tragedy, act of God, devastation, crisis, holocaust, ruin, ruination, upheaval, convulsion, blow, shock, reverse, trouble, trial, and tribulation. Cataclysms are inevitable events all civilizations must endure, both on a small scale as well as a global scale. To understand the Adam and Eve story, we must first look at examples of cataclysms within our historical timeline. Pompeii is one of the perfect examples of a small-scale cataclysm. Once again, the definition of a cataclysm is a violent event in the natural world, meaning it is nature that causes the catastrophe. It is nature that causes the destruction. Pompeii was destroyed by Mount Vesuvius in 79 AD. It is the earth that consumed this civilization. Now, a cataclysm is not something that happens over time. It is something that is a sudden destruction. So fast, it happens within one day. Within one day, Pompeii was wiped away and it was no more. What is left is nothing more than petrified ash. These people were instantly vanquished. Some were boiled alive, others burned alive. All that you see left are the ruins of a once great civilization. Now that we have seen an example of a small-scale cataclysm, let's look at an example of a global-scale cataclysm. Something that happened so fast and so sudden, the entire planet was affected. That last event that we know of is the flood of Noah. As a Christian, this is something I have always known and considered to be historical fact. For the non-Christians, the flood of Noah is not only historical fact as proven in the Bible, it has also been proven as historical fact by the founding father of paleontology, Georges Cuvier. Paleontology is the study of fossils. Georges Cuvier opposed evolution. He developed the theory of catastrophism that teaches the boundaries between fossil layers corresponded to catastrophic events such as Noah's flood. These fossils are not found all by themselves as shown in movies like the Jurassic Park series. True fossils are found in mass graves. The fossil record is proof there was a cataclysmic event that was sudden. It was quick, and it all happened in one day. So fast, no form of life knew what was happening. The reason I believe prehistoric beasts and ancient civilizations both perished under the same cataclysmic event that was Noah's flood is because there is way too much archaeological discoveries that proves humans coexisted with the great ancient beasts of the past. Proof of the flood of Noah goes a lot further than just the fossil record. It also goes straight into the human civilization record. Human civilizations go back a lot further and have been a lot more advanced than what we are being told. The Bible tells us in Genesis chapter 6, which is the flood of Noah, that God flooded the earth because all flesh on the earth had become corrupt. The corruption of the flesh, which is the cause of our most recent cataclysm that changed the world, is due to the intervention of the fallen angels, as told to us in Genesis chapter 6, which reads, "And it came to pass, when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, the sons of God saw the daughters of men that they were fair, and they took them wives of all which they chose. And the Lord said, My spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he also is flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years. There were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them. The same became mighty men which were of old, men of renown. And God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. And it repented the Lord that he had made man on the earth, and it grieved him at his heart. And the Lord said, I will destroy man, whom I have created from the face of the earth, both man and beast, and the creeping thing, and the fowls of the air, for it repenteth me that I have made them. Proof of the flood is also seen here on the surface level. The great pyramids of Giza and the Egyptian Sphinx had to be excavated. Entire pyramids in Mexico had to be excavated out of jungle foliage. Pyramids in present day in El Mirador in Guatemala are still being excavated. Pyramids so massive that on one side they look like a mountain. On the other side, where the excavation is taking place, they are revealing what is underneath, which is a great pyramid. How do you cover such great structures? It is impossible for it to be done by human hands or human machinery. The only way great civilizations can end up under the ocean, as well as those on the surface end up underneath the dirt, the sand, the jungle, can only happen if a great flood takes place. Water had to cover the surface of these ancient ruins. They were completely covered in one day's time. In one cataclysmic event, everything of the ancient world, all life, was completely wiped away. Now we can go into a more detailed look of Genesis chapter 6 by looking at the Book of Enoch and the Book of Jasher. Let's start with the Book of Enoch chapter 7. And it happened, after the sons of men had multiplied in those days, that daughters were born to them, elegant and beautiful. And when the angels, the sons of heaven, beheld them, they became enamored of them, saying to each other, Come, let us select for ourselves wives from the progeny of men, and let us beget children. Then their leader Samyaza said to them, I fear that you may perhaps be indisposed to the performance of this enterprise, and that I alone shall suffer for so grievous a crime. But they answered him and said, We all swear, and bind ourselves by mutual execrations, that we will not change our intention, but execute our projected undertaking. Then they swore all together, and all bound themselves by mutual execrations. Their whole number was 200 who descended upon Ardis, which is the top of Mount Armon. That mountain therefore was called Armon, because they had sworn upon it, and bound themselves by mutual execrations. Verse 9 contains the names of the chiefs of the fallen angels. I cannot pronounce most of those, therefore I'll let you guys pause it and read them for yourselves. Continuing on with verse 10. Then they took wives, each choosing for himself whom they began to approach, and whom they cohabited, teaching them sorcery, incarnations, and the dividing of roots and trees. And the women conceiving brought forth giants, whose stature was each 300 cubits. These devoured all which the labor of men produced, until it became impossible to feed them, when they turned themselves against men in order to devour them, and began to injure birds, beasts, reptiles, and fish, to eat their flesh, and one after another, and drink their blood. Then the earth reproved the unrighteous. Let's go more into detail on the fallen angels and how they are the cause of our last global cataclysm, which is the flood of Noah, and how this all ties into the story of Adam and Eve, and how the world will once again experience a global cataclysm. Let's open the book of Jasher, chapter 4. And all the days that Enoch lived upon the earth were 365 years. And when Enoch had ascended into heaven, all the kings of the earth rose and took Methuselah his son, and anointed him, and they caused him to reign over them in the place of his father. And Methuselah acted uprightly in the sight of God, as his father Enoch had taught him. And he likewise, during the whole of his life, taught the sons of men wisdom, knowledge, and the fear of God. And he did not turn from the good way either to the right or to the left. But in the latter days of Methuselah, the sons of men turned from the Lord. They corrupted the earth. They robbed and plundered each other, and they rebelled against God, and they transgressed, and they corrupted their ways, and would not hearken to the voice of Methuselah, but rebelled against him. And the Lord was exceedingly wroth against them. And the Lord continued to destroy the seed in those days, so that there was neither sowing nor reaping in the earth. For when they sowed the ground in order that they might obtain food for their support, behold, thorns and thistles were produced, which they did not sow. And still the sons of men did not turn from their evil ways, and their hands were still extended to do evil in the sight of God. And they provoked the Lord with their evil ways, and the Lord was very wroth, and repented that he had made man. And he thought to destroy and annihilate them, and he did so. In those days when Lamech, the son of Methuselah, was 160 years old, Seth, the son of Adam, died. And all the days that Seth lived were 912 years, and he died. And Lamech was 180 years old when he took Ashmua, the daughter of Elisha, the son of Enoch, his uncle, and she conceived. And at that time the sons of men sowed the ground, and a little food was produced. Yet the sons of men did not turn from their evil ways, and they trespassed and rebelled against God. And the wife of Lamech conceived and bare him a son at that time, at the revolution of the year. And Methuselah called his name Noah, saying the earth was in his days at rest and free from corruption. And Lamech his father called his name Menachem, saying, this one shall comfort us in our works and miserable toil in the earth, which God had cursed. And the child grew up and was weaned, and he went in the ways of his father Methuselah, perfect and upright with God. And all the sons of men departed from the ways of the Lord in those days, as they multiplied upon the face of the earth with sons and daughters, and they taught one another their evil practices, and they continued sinning against the Lord. And every man made unto himself a god, and they robbed and plundered every man his neighbor as well as his relative, and they corrupted the earth, and the earth was filled with violence. And their judges and rulers went to the daughters of men and took their wives by force from their husbands according to their choice. And the sons of men in those days took from the cattle of the earth, beasts of the field, fowls of the air, and taught the mixtures of animal of one species with another, in order therewith to provoke the Lord. And God saw the whole earth, and it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted its way upon earth, all men and all animals. And the Lord said, I will blot out man that I created from the face of the earth, yea, from man to the birds of the air, together with cattle and beasts that are in the field, for I repent that I made them. And all men who walked in the ways of the Lord died in those days, before the Lord brought the evil upon man which he had declared. For this was from the Lord, that they should not see the evil which the Lord spoke of concerning the sons of men. And Noah found grace in the sight of the Lord, and the Lord chose him and his children to raise up seed from them upon the face of the whole earth. So now that we've recognized the difference between a small-scale cataclysm as well as a global-scale cataclysm, which were both caused by the fallen angels' intervention with mankind, The first question that comes to mind is, how does all this tie into our modern day and age? How will all this lead to the next global cataclysm that will wipe out civilization once again? This is something we had to learn and understand before we can get into the Adam and Eve story written by Chan Thomas. We will also examine how the fallen angels' intervention with mankind throughout history of all civilizations corresponds to our modern day and age of civilizations. We will also cover, where are they located? Who is their offspring? And how are they deceiving our modern day and age of mankind into accepting them once again into global power? We will also cover how they will be the cause of the upcoming cataclysm, the upcoming global extinction not seen since the beginning of time itself. We will also cover why Jesus Christ must return, why he must intervene, why he has shortened the days to save mankind from the coming destruction that none of us can possibly conceive or expect to take place. This is where the advanced civilizations of the past, the gods they worshipped, intervention of the fallen angels with mankind corresponds to our modern day and age, and how they are re-emerging through the alien agenda. The origins of the world's religion are a result of the fallen angels' interaction with man, as we covered in Genesis chapter 6, the Book of Enoch chapter 7, and the Book of Jasher chapter 4. As we are also told in the Book of Enoch, chapter 19, which reads, Uriel said to me, Here will stand the angels who have joined themselves with women. Their spirits appeared in various forms and defiled mankind by leading them astray into sacrificing to demons as gods. They will remain here until the day of great judgment, when they will be judged and made an end of. The fallen angels' wives will be with them. Their offsprings became the giants of legend, the beasts of mythology, and the great men of renown throughout history. The Book of Enoch tells us each of the 200 chose a wife for himself, and they began to go in unto them and mate with them. And they taught them sorcery and enchantments and the cutting of roots, and made them acquainted with plants. These women became pregnant and gave birth to great giants, whose height reached up to 3,000 elves. The giants consumed all the food, and when men could no longer sustain them, the giants turned against them and devoured mankind. They also began to sin against birds and beasts and reptiles and fish, and to devour one another's flesh and drink the blood. Then the earth laid accusation against the lawless ones. Azazel taught men to make swords, knives, shields, and armor from the metals of the earth. He taught the women how to see behind them, how to make bracelets, ornaments, and other kinds of jewelry using precious stones. And the beautifying of the eyes with makeup of various colors. This led them astray into fornication and ungodliness, and they became corrupt in all their ways. Semyaza taught enchantments and root cuttings. Amaros taught how to resolve enchantments. Barakel taught astrology. Kokabel taught constellations. Tamil taught knowledge of the clouds. Arazdel taught the courses of the moon. As mankind began to perish, they cried out to heaven. Let's start with the state of the earth prior to a global catastrophe. Number 1, mass population growth. The book of Genesis, chapter 6, verse 6, tells us that when it came to pass is when men began to multiply on the face of the earth. The book of Enoch, chapter 7, verse 1, gives us that same exact account. It happened after the sons of men had multiplied in those days. And we hear the same thing in the book of Jasher, chapter 4, verse 16. And all the sons of men departed from their ways of the Lord in those days, as they multiplied upon the face of the earth. What are we seeing now in our modern day and age? a mass population growth far larger than any other time in our planet's history. The world is once again filled with violence, wars, rumors of wars, civil wars, revolutionary wars, global wars, race wars, gang wars, tribal wars, spiritual wars, and number 2, continued interaction between mankind and the fallen angels, communicating with one another through the different sciences of the earth as well as the different religions of the earth. And third, the hybridization of the species. Humans mixing race with other race, animals being mixed together, species with one another species, geneticists splicing genes, creating half-human, half-animal embryos. Just as stated in the Book of Jasher, chapter 4, verse 18, "And the sons of men in those days took from the cattle of the earth, the beasts of the field, the fowls of the air, and taught the mixtures of animals of one species with the other, in order therewith to provoke the Lord. And God saw the whole earth, and it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted its ways upon the earth, all men and all animals." Everything taking place in our current world is a repeat of something that already took place in the past. Just as the Bible tells us in the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 1, verse 9, "The thing that hath been is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done, and there is nothing new under the sun." We are also told in the book of Matthew, chapter 24, verse 37 through 39, "For as were the days of Noah, so will be the coming of the Son of Man. For as in those days before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day when Noah entered the ark, and they were unaware until the flood came and swept them all away. So will be the coming of the Son of Man." This will be the cause that leads us to our next global cataclysm. Let's start with modern day hybrids. What you are looking at right here is what I call mainstream hybrids. This is a result of breeding via human interaction. None of these are found naturally within the wild. Only one can be found in very rare cases. That is the Pizzly bear, also known as a growler bear. Due to climate change, grizzlies and polar bears have been mating in very rare and certain occasions within the wild. Other than that, everything you are looking at is a man-made concept of the future of evolution. They are accelerating the rate of evolution, creating an entirely new animal kingdom by mixing the species, none of which occur in the wild. None of them are of natural creation. The advancements of hybridization supersedes the capabilities of simple breeding. This is where geneticists come into play. Not all animals are compatible with breeding with one another, but the genes can be spliced and entirely new creations brought together. This is where the ancient world connects and corresponds to our modern world. The fallen angels' intervention with mankind still exists in today's day and age through the ancient religions, as well as the comeback of paganism in all its forms of witchcraft, Satanism, Luciferianism, atheism, and also through the alien agenda. Now, thanks to the alien disclosure movement, we have a list of all these so-called alien races. Now, by simply observing the different races of aliens, which consist of the avian race, the tall white race, the Palladian race, the gray race, which are tall and short. The tall ones can be mistaken for tall whites. They are the most famous of aliens. We have the reptilian race, the Syrian race, the Archon race, the Mantis race, the Agarthan race. What is the one thing they all have in common? They are humanoid. They are half human and half fallen angel. They are proof of a continued intervention between mankind and fallen angels, as we have read in the Book of Enoch, the Book of Jasher, the Book of Genesis. Just as we see humanoids within the ancient religions of the earth who were worshipped as gods, the Book of Enoch tells us this, that they were giving sacrifices to demons as gods. Common sense tells us aliens do not exist or originate in other planets or other galaxies. They originate on this planet, inside this galaxy. They are inside of the earth, hiding from us. Every alien race is from the earth. They are part human, part animal, and part angelic being. Just as the Book of Genesis, the Book of Enoch, and the Book of Jasher tell us that the sons of God came in unto the earth, unto the daughters of men, and they bare children. Their features and descriptions are word for word exactly what the Bible, the Book of Enoch, and the Book of Jasher tell us. And the things they have done in the past and the things they are doing now in the present day are exactly what the Book of Jasher, the Book of Enoch, and the Book of Genesis have told us. Jasher chapter 4:18 reads, "And their judges and rulers went to the daughters of men to take their wives by force from their husbands according to their choice. And the sons of men in those days took from the cattle of the earth, the beasts of the field, and the fowls of the air, and taught the mixtures of animals of one species with another, in order therewith to provoke the Lord. And God saw the whole earth, and it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted its ways upon earth, all men and all animals." The Book of Genesis chapter 6, which is the flood of Noah, tells us that there were giants in the earth in those days and also after that. For giants to still be here after the flood, that means they had to have found a way to survive that cataclysm. Surviving remnants of the offspring from the fallen angels survived the flood of Noah by burrowing into the earth and creating massive underground cities. They created underground cities so large and advanced they connected continents such as Turkey to Scotland. This is where the fallen angels are still interacting with mankind, not only spiritually, but also physically. Due to the advancements in our technology, they knew their old, ancient underground cities would be discovered. Therefore, every government on the planet is building underground facilities, both in the earth as well in the ocean, so that they can conceal these entities and their offspring. These underground bases are being used to conduct secret experiments such as breeding programs, gene splicing programs, and cloning programs. They are storing mass amounts of food. They have a massive seed bank in Norway. They are using some of these underground facilities for agriculture, learning how to grow crops. They're even learning how to grow crops in the ocean. Entire cities the size of states exist inside of the earth. Thanks to the UFO disclosure movement, they have given us artistic renditions. Clearly, they're top secret for a purpose, and that is what the Adam and Eve story is going to lead us to. The next cataclysm, and what they are doing inside of the earth to cause that cataclysm to take place as soon as possible. So now that we have established what a cataclysm is and how the intervention of the fallen angels with mankind are the cause of prior cataclysms, let's look into how they will cause the next cataclysm. They will achieve this through synergy, working weather manipulation with their heart machine, in cooperation of particle acceleration using the CERN machine. The purpose is for climate change and to cause a shift in the continents. They will turn the current surface civilizations into the ocean floor, and the ocean floor will become new surfaces to inhabit. Let's first look at the heart machine and its purpose. It stands for the High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program, or HAARP. HAARP is a scientific endeavor aimed at studying the properties and behavior of the ionosphere. How does HAARP work? Scientists at HAARP use HF radio transmitters to heat regions of the ionosphere and observe the effects, including ionospheric heating. What happens in the ionosphere? The upper atmosphere is ionized by solar radiation. That means the sun's energy is so strong at this level that it breaks apart molecules. So there ends up being electrons floating around and molecules which have lost or gained electrons. When the sun is active, more and more ionization happens. The ionosphere is the part of the atmosphere that is ionized. It plays an important part in atmospheric electricity and forms the inner edge of the magnetosphere. It has practical importance because, among other functions, it influences radio propagation to distant places on the Earth. So by heating up the ionosphere using the HAARP machine, they are breaking up molecules at an accelerated rate. Molecules broken apart become particles. This is where the HAARP machine works in cooperation with the CERN machine. The ionosphere is naturally heated by solar radiation, which is light and heat from the sun onto the earth all the way down to its surface. The molecules of that natural solar radiation break apart on the ionosphere, creating particles. The HAARP machine also heats up the ionosphere using HF radio transmitters, which also breaks molecules on the ionosphere back down into particles. The CERN machine is a particle detector and particle accelerator. Particle accelerators use electric fields to speed up and increase the energy of a beam of particles, which are steered and focused by magnetic fields. By accelerating these particles at the speed of light, CERN is altering the Earth's magnetic field. The CERN machine is 100,000 times stronger than the Earth's magnetic field. So by the ionosphere being naturally heated by the sun's radiation, as well as artificially heated by the HAARP's HF radio transmitters, so by HAARP and CERN altering the electrical and magnetic fields of the Earth, we get a blueprint for the next global cataclysm. The Adam and Eve story, written by Chan Thomas, gives great detail of the consequences of altering the magnetic and electrical fields of the earth in the first 2 pages of the very first chapter. And they read, "With a rumble so low as to be inaudible, growing, throbbing, then fuming into a thundering roar, the earthquake starts. Only it's not like any earthquake in recorded history. In California, the mountains shake like ferns in a breeze. The mighty Pacific rears back and piles up into a mountain of water more than 2 miles high, then starts its race eastward. With the force of 1,000 armies, the wind attacks, ripping, shredding everything in its supersonic bombardment. The unbelievable mountain of Pacific seawater follows the wind eastward, burying Los Angeles and San Francisco as if they were nothing but grains of sand. Nothing but nothing stops the relentless, overwhelming onslaught of wind and ocean. Across the continent, the 1,000-mile-per-hour wind wreaks its unholy vengeance everywhere, mercilessly, unceasingly. Every living thing is ripped into shreds while being blown across the countryside, and the earthquake leaves no place untouched. In many places, the earth's molten sublayer breaks through and spreads a sea of white, hot liquid fire to add to the holocaust. Within 3 hours, the fantastic wall of water moves across the continent, burying the wind-ravaged land under 2 miles of seething water, coast to coast. In a fraction of a day, all vestiges of civilization are gone, and the great cities, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Chicago, Dallas, New York, are nothing but legends. Barely a stone is left where millions walked just a few hours before. A few lucky ones who managed to find shelter from the screaming wind on the lee side of Pikes Peak watched the sea of molten fire break through the quaking valleys below. The raging waters follow, piling higher and higher, steaming over the molten earth fire and rising almost to their feet. As we read onward, we see how the rest of the world is also affected by this cataclysm. The PDF is available down in the description. I will leave the rest for you guys to read. We are given a cross-section diagram of the earth at the beginning of the book. And alarmingly, the patterns of CERN and the patterns of HARP match exactly the cross-section of the earth. If we look at the cross-section of the earth inside the front cover, we see two molten layers. The orange one is the important one. This one is the molten layer about 60 miles thick, which is between 60 and 100 miles down below the surface of the earth. The thick, deep molten layer starting 1,800 miles down at the bottom of the mantle and extending 13 miles deeper is the outer core. Now both molten layers are liquid. However, the inner magnetic and electrical structure of the earth makes these layers act as if they were near solid or plastic. As long as the magnetic and electrical structures maintains its order lines, the old earth keeps on rotating on its axis in a normal manner. Once the electrical and magnetic fields of the earth have been disrupted beyond what the earth can handle, the inner core and outer core will return to their natural liquid state. And when this happens, a global cataclysm is inevitable. A man-made inundation will be their mockery of the flood of Noah. They will turn the current surface into the ocean floor, and the ocean floor will become a new surface that they will attempt to inhabit. The opening ceremony for CERN was not a celebration, it was a dedication to the dance of Shiva, the Thandanvam, which is a dance of bliss. It symbolizes the cosmic cycles and creation as well as destruction. This is why they have built military bases and mass cities and vaults inside of the earth. They will hide themselves away once they have triggered this event. Once the waves have settled and all civilization has been wiped away, they will emerge a new civilization where race is redefined, gender is redefined, religion is redefined. They call themselves gods of a new time. Or so they all have been deceived to believe. It won't only be a mock flood. It will literally rip the world in half. Their goal is to actually recreate the Big Bang. This will destroy the universe in completion. The Big Bang is what created the universe. God said, "Let there be light." That was the Big Bang. That is the Big Bang. Their attempt is to blow up all of creation, all of existence. They know they are defeated. Their future and hope of an afterlife is eternal damnation. This is something they will attempt to avoid by annihilating all of creation, all of existence. And they will attempt to continue their war and their rebellion and their execrations against heaven. And if they cause a Big Bang, in layman's terms, that's a nuclear attack on heaven. The kingdom of heaven is real. Heaven is a real physical place. We know this because of the resurrection of Jesus Christ. He died and rose from the dead in 3 days. That means he came to life in the same body that he had died in. He came back to life means he was a physical creation once again. When the angels ascended him into heaven, that shows us heaven is a real physical place. When you look up at night and see the stars, you are not looking at outer space or the universe as we have been indoctrinated to believe. You are looking at the very first level of heaven. All of this goes far beyond science, far beyond religion, far beyond a global war. They are continuing the same war they started in heaven. It never ended. Once these God particles have been detected and accelerated at the speed of light and they collide, a Big Bang will be produced. The intention is far beyond a global war. The intention is far beyond destroying the earth. Their intention is to continue the war in heaven that they started. Where is and what is the God particle? In the book of Genesis, God said, "Let there be light." That is the Big Bang. When this happened, Everything came into creation and existence, the kingdom of heaven as well as the earth. Therefore, the God particle is everything. It is all around us at all times. God created all things in heaven and on earth. This is why the Bible tells us Jesus Christ will return. He must return, and he will return with war and judgment. Revelations 19:11 through 16. And I saw heaven open, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat upon him was called Faithful and True, and in righteousness he doth judge and make war. His eyes were as flame of fire, and on his head were many crowns, and he had a name written that no man knew but he himself. And he was clothed with a vesture dipped in blood, and his name is called the Word of God. And the armies which were in heaven followed him upon white horses, clothed in fine linen, white and clean. And out of his mouth goeth a sharp sword, that with it he should smite the nations. He shall rule them with a rod of iron, and he treadeth the winepress of the fierceness and the wrath of Almighty God. And he hath on his vesture and on his thigh a name written, King of Kings and Lord of Lords. Revelations chapter 6, verse 15 and 16. And the kings of the earth, and the great men, and the rich men, and the chief captains, and the mighty men, and every bondman, and every free man, hid themselves in the dens and in the rocks of the mountains, and said to the mountains and the rocks, Fall on us, and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne, and from the wrath of the Lamb. So in the end, as we observe everything we have examined, there is nothing we can do to avoid this great cataclysm, this great end. But the most powerful thing we can do is put our faith in Jesus Christ. John 3:16. For God so loved the earth that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish, but have everlasting life. God promises a new earth and a new heaven. Revelation chapter 21. And I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea. And I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from God out of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, Behold, the tabernacle of God is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people, and God himself shall be with them, and be their God. And God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, neither sorrow nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain, for the former things are passed away. And he that sat upon the throne, behold, I make all things new. And he said unto me, Write, for these words are true and faithful. And he said unto me, It is done. I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. I will give unto him that is athirst of the fountain of the water of life freely. And he that overcometh shall inherit all things, and I will be his God, and he shall be my son. But the fearful and unbelieving and the abominable and the murderers and the warmongers and the sorcerers and idolaters and all liars shall have their part in the lake which burneth with fire and brimstone, which is the second death. And there came unto me one of the seven angels which had the seven vials full of the seven last plagues, and talked with me, saying, Come hither, I will shew thee the bride, the Lamb's wife. And he carried me away in the spirit to a great and high mountain, and shewed me the great city, the holy Jerusalem, descending out of heaven from God, having the glory of God, and her light was like unto a stone most precious, even like a jasper stone, clear as crystal, and had a wall great and high, and had 12 gates, and at the gates 12 angels, and names written thereon, which are the names of the 12 tribes of the children of Israel. On the east 3 gates, on the north 3 gates, on the south 3 gates, and on the west 3 gates. And the wall of the city had 12 foundations, and in them the names of the 12 apostles of the Lamb. And he that talked with me had a golden reed to measure the city, and the gates thereof, and the wall thereof. And the city lieth foursquare, and the length is as large as the breadth. And he measured the city with the reed, 12,000 furlongs. The length and the breadth, the height of it, are equal. And he measured the wall thereof 144 cubits, according to the measure of a man, that is, of the angel. And the building of the wall of it was of jasper, and the city was pure gold, like unto clear glass. And the foundations of the wall of the city were garnished with all manner of precious stones. The first foundation was jasper, the second sapphire, the third chalcedony, the fourth an emerald, the fifth sardonyx, the sixth sardius, the seventh chrysolite, the eighth beryl, the ninth topaz, the 10th chrysoprasus, the 11th jacinth, and the 12th amethyst. And the 12 gates were 12 pearls. Every several gate was of one pearl, and the street of the city was pure gold, as it were transparent glass. And I saw no temple therein, for the Lord God Almighty and the Lamb are the temple of it. And the city had no need of the sun, neither of the moon, to shine in it, for the glory of God did lighten it, and the Lamb is the light thereof. And the nations of them which are saved shall walk in the light of it, and the kings of the earth do bring their glory and honor into it. And the gates of it shall not be shut at all by day, for there shall be no night there. And they shall bring the glory and honor of the nations into it, and there shall in no wise enter into it anything that defileth, neither whatsoever worketh abomination or maketh a lie, but they which are written in the Lamb's book of life. And that is the conclusion to my reaction of the Adam and Eve story written by Chan Thomas. Truly a remarkable set of events yet to happen, that no man knows the time or the date of. Even Jesus Christ himself knows not the time or date. Only God knows that time and that date, and there is a reason only he knows. But in order to understand this book, it takes many other books. All the PDFs can be found down in my description. I want to thank everybody for watching. Please like, please subscribe, please share this with everybody that you possibly can. Turn on the notification bell and stay up to date with my future videos. If you would like to help support the channel, please become a Patreon. Any comments, any thoughts you would like to share with me, please leave them down in the comments. I ask, do not leave insults or trash talk. That type of behavior cannot be tolerated for such a powerful set of events and video of what I have done here. This is something that is not meant for the average person to know. So for you to have come across it, you truly are someone special. The world will not accept you or me because Jesus Christ has chosen us out of this world. We are to inherit the new world and the new kingdom of heaven.